Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, I'm Joanne Victoria, and I am the host of the Sanity Project podcast. I partner with IT professionals in the telecommunications, technology, entertainment, and mass media industries whose work-life balance plan has imploded and who want more success, more confidence, more fun, and more inner peace. The Sanity Project podcast is a platform for experts in the personal development and IT communities to share their wisdom, expertise, and solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. And we have one of those experts here with us today. Our guest today is Dr. Rozina Lakhani. Dr. Rozina Lakhani's life mission is to promote health and happiness. Dr. Lakhani is a psychiatrist at Shifa Health, a clinical professor at the University of Washington School of Nursing, and medical director at Residence XII, a women's drug treatment program. She is a member of the American Stress Institute and gives talks and trainings to various groups. Rozina received her medical degree from the Aga Khan University in Pakistan and completed her residency in psychiatry and master's in public health from the University of Illinois in Chicago. She has a book out that is called From Stress to Joy, and she's going to talk about that today. Dr. Rozina dreams of a world where people live harmoniously and happily, pursuing a life of love and purpose. Welcome to our show, Dr. Rozina Lakhani.
Thank you, Joanne. I really appreciate this opportunity. And I'm not just excited because I get to talk to you, but I'm really excited because I know that each one of the listener affects so many people around them, that we would be helping so many people feel less stress and more joy. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you being here because stress seems to be the underlying issue with most people I speak with. Joy is where we should be in our lives, and yet most of us spend our time in joy. So how can you help our audience today minimize the stress and maximize the joy in their lives?
Well, let me take you through examples of some of the stories that I have used in the book, Stress to Joy. And before I go into that, let me just tell you why I feel so passionate about this topic. Because I have seen a lot of people around me, all my patients, my friends getting affected, and I was always also pro-prevention. Therefore, I did my master's in public health. But there was a life-changing experience I went through some 13 years back that really brought this to my attention. What actually had happened was I was in a car accident and I broke my right hand. And it was a very, very stressful time. We had moved our offices. I was so tired. I was going home from work, and my thoughts were going to, what am I going to do tomorrow? My day off. It was my birthday. So I thought, I'll have chance to relax. Maybe I'll take a tub bath or go by the nearby lake and read a nice book. And suddenly there was this boom, and my car was hit by another car, and the airbag opened, and when I came to senses, my hand was all crooked on the steering wheel, and I could not move. And long story short, after that, I went through quite a bit of stress because all life was changed. When your dominant hand doesn't work, you can't change your clothes, you cannot open food jars, you cannot write. And so I had to learn and use a lot of these techniques myself. And then when I started getting better and I was able to write, I started writing. And I made a folder on my laptop that was just called My Book, because I really wanted to share these techniques that were helping me with people, so that they don't go through a lot of stress themselves. And when the stress comes, they can come out of it and then continue to use to help them enjoy the life. And so over the 10, 12 years, I have collected a lot of techniques, and they became the basis for my program, Stress to Joy, and this book. And so I wanted to share some of those techniques with your audience today.
I think that is brilliant. I think the people that are listening need to know about stress, because there are not too many people I know that don't have some stress. And I think the working people, the people who are employees, the people who are contractors at the businesses that both you and I are surrounded by, since we both live in the Seattle area, there's a lot of stress growing in those businesses, and it's always put down to the employees and the contractors. So, stuff travels downhill. And how can these give us some techniques, give our audience and me some techniques to move forward to joy and away from stress?
I would love to. So in the book, I have used a lot of example, and I picked up 3 friends' stories. One of them is actually an IT professional. So it's really relevant that what techniques was helping her may be the techniques that may help your audience too. And all these friends were kind of going through these steps, and the book describes those stories, and I won't be able to go in all of them, but let me just go through the 3 basic steps that everybody has to go through if they were to manage stress before it manages them.
That's great.
And then I'll probably use my example, just few days back, I had to use a lot of these techniques as I was flying back from Atlanta, and I got stuck in that security line on the airport. Actually, I've missed the flight because of this long line. And a lot of listeners may be able to relate to when they are trying to reach somewhere and want to do something and things are not going according to their expectation, how the stress builds and how they can handle. So here I was standing in this security line, and the line was moving so slow at the snail's pace. And as the time was passing, my blood pressure and my anxiety was going up because I was afraid that I would miss my flight. And in the pressure of the moment, it is hard for us to recognize. But after a while, I said, "Oh, what can I use to help myself calm down? This is not helping me." So the first step of stress to joy system is to acknowledge. So when I acknowledge that my blood pressure was going up and I'm just getting into this negative cycle of worry, what if I miss my flight? What is going to happen with my patients who are waiting on the other side? What if? And it was building up. So first step I had to do was acknowledge that I am feeling stressed at that time. There are 5 questions I go through how to do the step, and I'll go into in a minute. The second step, after I acknowledged that was happening, was to calm down. And so I utilized some of the exercises that I teach people. And one of the exercises that I'm going to share today, I had to use that relaxation exercise to calm my body down, calm my mind down. So then I could go to the third step, which is to reflect. And I started reflecting in terms of what is happening and what can I do, what is in my control and what is not in my control. And then when I was able to do that, overall, I was able to decrease my stress, and I was able to help my family calm down. Because when one person is getting worked up, it affects everybody around them too. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So you have acknowledge first, calm down second, and deflect third, and what was fourth?
No, it was not deflect. It was reflect. I started reflecting.
Oh, reflect. Okay. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Reflect and what's under your control and what isn't under your control.
Right. And in my book, I go through a formula for reflection and then a formula to establish the new habits. And I also go into 7 happiness habits that we can work on to develop the joy, which can decrease the effect of stress and help us build more resilience. I won't be able to go in all of those steps, but I will go a little bit more in detail of these 3 steps. I call it ACR: acknowledge, calm down, and reflect.
Okay, so I'm interested. I can get to acknowledge that that's what's going on, but the calming down is what intrigues me, because in my experience, telling people to calm down does not work. Telling women to calm down, if somebody does that, works even worse.
Yes.
You never tell a woman to calm down. And it's like, this is who we are. Whatever it is, this is who we are in that moment. So how can someone calm down after they have acknowledged what is happening?
Well, one of the best ways to calm down is to bring your attention in the present moment, becoming mindful. Now, this mindful concept is going around a lot, but a lot of people don't really understand what actually mindfulness means. What does it mean to you?
Right now, it would mean to be in the moment and not think about what might happen.
Some people feel that mindfulness, I'll share a joke. When you ask my son, what is mindfulness? He would joke that mindfulness means your mind's computer is so full, there is no space left.
I agree with your son, because I experienced that generally about 4:00 in the afternoon, when my head is so full that my ears shut down. It's like I have a head filled with cotton or whatever, and there's no more room in the inn. There's no place that another thought can get in, and I have to go someplace separate, shut my door, lie down, do something else, or not do anything at all, preferably, because my brain cannot handle one more piece of information. So even him being aware of that, my God, him being aware of that. And I agree with you, because mindfulness is a word that seems to be thrown about. Be mindful. It's thrown about by lots of people, whether they are really aware of what the words mean. I'm not sure, but I do have a lot of people who talk about mindfulness, certainly as related to stress, certainly as related to most anything. But I'm with you. I don't think they really have a clue as to what it truly is. They think mindful means, I have to meditate. No, that's not what it means.
Right.
If you wanted to meditate, you would say meditate, not mindful or mindfulness.
Right. So I'll tell you, I'll read a little bit from the book about my conversation with a friend. One of the stories in the book that you would read was the story of Sam, and she was having a lot of trouble because of her stress of driving. Since she took a new job, she was on road like 1.5 hours each way. So she was spending about 3 hours on road. She did not have any time to take care of herself or do the things that used to calm her down. She used to exercise and she used to do art. And so she did not have any time for any of those activities. So her stress level was really building up and it was showing in her skin. So one day when I was telling her that I was working on this project, she said, well, I'm really interested because I need to do something. My skin is getting really red and I'm going to the doctors and I just don't have time for myself. So I told her, what if you practice mindful driving? And she was really intrigued. Yes, she was on the road for 3 hours. She can practice it. But she said, what is mindfulness in driving? So I told her, I told her some of the stories to bring the point. And I can't go in every detail, but you can read a little bit more in the book.
Hold on a second. Not everybody's going to buy the book. Let's be realistic here. So you have to tell us, because this is intriguing to me, what is mindful driving? Bottom line.
All right. Mindful driving means becoming completely mindful while you are driving. So let me share the instruction I gave her. But before I could give her the instruction, she needed to understand what the mindfulness is. So let's say if you are observing a sunset, okay? It's beautiful, the sun is setting, and you are in this great position to be able to observe. Scenario one, you are observing. There are some thoughts in the background going on, how beautiful it is, or what colors are there, and you're observing. So you're completely present in the moment. You are enjoying this sunset. The thoughts are there, but they are in the background and they're not distracting you. Scenario two, you're observing this sunset, and then suddenly your mind thinks, oh, this is how the other sunset I was observing when I was on that vacation, and what happened, and your mind drifts to that story. And you are not observing the current sunset anymore. Or you start thinking about all the things you have to do after the sunset, or where you're going to go and what you're going to do, and your mind goes away and sunset is gone. So your moment is lost. So when you are in scenario one, when you are completely present, although there are some thoughts, they are in background. Your focus in the present moment, you are completely present-minded. That is mindfulness. Experiencing whatever is happening, observing it without passing any judgment, and intentionally staying in the moment. Is it more clear?
Yeah, that's clear. So how I understand. So if somebody is mindful while they're driving, what are they mindful of? Do they are they obviously? I mean, there are times when one can drive totally unconsciously.
Right.
People, you just all of a sudden you're at your destination and you do not recall the drive.
Right.
I know that certainly around where we live, one has to be extremely mindful when driving because of the traffic and the attitude of the drivers and so on and so forth. So for me, it's just I have to watch everything left, right, and center and back with using my mirrors and being in the car. I catch myself. I go, okay, you're driving. You're not thinking of this, that, and the other. You have to stay focused. So if Sam is driving mindfully, how is it beneficial to her and to her upcoming skin rashes or whatever?
So when you are intentionally bringing attention in the moment, it becomes more mindful. So when you start driving, let's say you make an intention that I'm going to drive mindfully today. As you are moving towards the car, you observe how your body feels, how your feet are moving, how your body is moving. You look at the car, see it as if you're looking at it for the first time. You observe the color, the brand, whatever. Even if it is dirty, you observe that without passing any judgment. And then as you're opening the car, you observe how your hand moves, how the door opens. As you sit down, you observe how it feels in your feet, as you sit down on the seat, how it feels in your hips, how your hands move to turn the key, how your hands are moving on the steering wheel, how as the car moves, the kinesthetic feeling of movement, how the views are changing moment by moment. And so you've become completely observant of each moment and experience the joy of doing that. As you are driving, let's say you forgot about intentionally setting up an intention before driving, and then you are driving in the middle, you remember, oh, I want to practice my mindfulness. You just bring attention to how it feels inside you and outside you. So you feel where your hands are, how your feet are moving automatically between brake and accelerator, how it feels in all over your body, how your hands are moving, how the scenes are changing moment by moment, what you are hearing. It may be sounds of the cars or humming or the music, whatever you're listening. You just bring attention to whatever is happening in the moment. And you don't pass the judgment in terms of this is good or this is bad or this person is doing this or this person is doing that. And if you become observant of what thoughts you are having and how you are feeling inside. So then you become completely mindful. When Sam started becoming mindful like that, then she realized that she was worrying a lot in terms of what she's going to do when she reached work. And so once she observed that, okay, this is not helping, she is here, she started observing, her body started calming down, and then she was able to tell her brain that I'll deal with the problem if it happens, when it happens. I'll deal with the issues once I reach there, but let me enjoy this moment. So her driving became her meditation.
There we go. Because that's what happens when many people drive, is they're thinking of other things. They're thinking, certainly people who are commuting, as Sam is 3 hours a day. On the way to work, she's thinking about her job, and on the way from work, she's thinking about other things, family, house, free time, so on and so forth. And I think that's what people have to get.
When I become mindful, I start enjoying the birds flying or the clouds or the people. Even when I get stuck in the traffic, I'm kind of observing how how other cars are, or the walls around, or the housing around, as if you are on vacation. You see, when you're on vacation, your mindset is totally different, right? You're observing everything because you're observing it for the first time. But when it becomes routine, you're not observing because it's just kind of routine. But if you start observing those, there are subtle changes that you would observe. And sometimes people start judging, this is bad. Like one of my friends, she said, okay, I am mindful. And then she keeps on observing all the bad things that are happening. and she's getting more upset.
Purpose,
She's getting more upset because she is observing all the things that are going wrong in her life or around her. So another aspect of mindfulness is non-judgmentally. So you want to observe things as they are and not pass judgment that this is right and this is wrong or this is good or this is bad. Things are the way they are. Sky is blue just because it's blue. It's not good or bad that it's blue. It is the way it is. And so when you observe and accept the things as they are, then you're able to calm. And then you can, you go to the third step of reflection. When you started reflecting what out of those things you like or don't like or you want to change, and what is within your circle of influence and what is outside your circle of influence. So do you want me to go a little bit more into the circle of influence concept, or do you want me to go back a little bit and talk about the 5 questions of how to acknowledge where you are?
Let's go back to the 5 questions, because we can stay with the ACR, and I think that this is beneficial to complete this aspect of our conversation. So give us those 5, whatever you just said they were, questions, thoughts about acknowledgement.
So the first question to ask is, what is the balance in your emotional coping account? Now, have you heard about emotional coping account before?
No, but I figured that's what your son and I were talking about when we said we can't take anymore, Mom.
So, everybody understands the concept of a bank account. So bank account, there are certain withdrawals and there are certain deposits, and your balance goes up and down based on how much deposits there are going in and how many withdrawals are coming out. Similarly, all of us have an internal coping account. I call it emotional coping account. So the balance in the coping account shows in form of your feelings. So when you start feeling frustrated and irritated and angry, it may be just the indication that the balance in your emotional coping account is just going down. So when the withdrawals are more than the deposits, what do? You start trying to decrease your withdrawals and you increase the deposits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the question one is, use your feelings to assess what is the balance in your emotional coping account. If it is positive, great, continue. If it is negative, just start increasing your deposit and decreasing your withdrawals. Now, some withdrawals are not in your control. Let's say if you have to pay the bills of, those withdrawals are going to come out, you don't have any control. But maybe the extra expenses that you were going to do that month, you decrease them. Similarly, when you come to the emotional coping account, there are some withdrawals, some stressors, some demands on your life that are not in your control, and you have to meet them, the basic necessities. And then there are some withdrawals that you can decrease, extra stuff that you are taking on your plate that you have the option to get rid of, then you get rid of them. So that's the second question. What are your withdrawals? Identify your withdrawals. Then the third question is, what are your deposits? So tell me, what are your deposits, Joanne? What helps you calm down and feel good, that makes you feel expanded and energized?
Getting away from the computer, not talking to anybody, shutting the door of my room, closing my eyes, resting for a while, eating some food, drinking some water.
Great. So you have already identified some of the deposits. And what I suggest to people is write down those deposits, because when you are feeling good, you are able to think about these things. But when you are not feeling good, it is very hard to remember what are some of the things that can help me. And so write down and make a list of your deposits and keep it in an accessible place, so that when you feel like your emotional coping account is kind of going into negative, you pull your deposit list. I have on my daily, I use a Wonder List for my daily to-do list, and one of the tasks is deposits. So I look at my deposit list and see, okay, what are some of the things I can do today to add a small deposit to my emotional coping account. So sometimes I'm able to do some small thing, and sometimes I'm able to do a big deposit. And so I suggest that make a list. If you are using some kind of to-do list, put adding a deposit into your emotional coping account as one of the to-dos every day. Let me give you an example. You can take a mindful shower. You can talk to a friend, or coloring. These are some of the deposits in my list. Reading a nice book, talking to my family, reading something funny, walking in nature, looking at flowers. Writing my diary is a deposit for me. Prayers, meditation. I really feel good when a patient gets better. So that's another deposit for me. Learning something new, using my treadmill and doing a walk, or listening to a good book. Some women also identify as retail therapy as one of the deposits. I shy away from that because sometimes people go overboard. But one of my doctor friends, she says, okay, if you want to do retail therapy, keep it under $10 and do something for yourself when you are thinking about getting for everybody. Treat yourself a little bit on and off so that you feel expanded and you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, go to the dollar store, not Nordstrom's. Hey, it
Right.
it works. So
Yeah.
what's number 4?
So I talked about identifying the balance, find your withdrawals, identifying your deposits. And the fourth is to identify where you want to go. So you have these 3 questions help you identify where you are currently. Now, the fourth question is how you want to feel. So right now you're feeling stress. You don't want to feel stress, but that is again a negative statement. So identifying how you want to feel. So you want to feel joyful. You want to feel focused in your work. You want to feel productive. You want to be the best you could be. So how you want to feel is the fourth question. And the fifth question is why. What is your motivation? Why do you want to change? And why you want to get better? And so you want to identify those 5 questions, and there are ways to identify where you want to go. I'm not sure if we have time to go into that detail at this time, Joanne.
Not today. We might have another show at some other point in time. I want to remind people that Dr. Rozina is providing a gift for our listeners. It will also be on her website page on my website at askjoannevictoria.com/podcasts, podcasts. You can go to Dr. Rozina's website at stresstojoy.com/podcast gifts. And she's giving you a lot of information and 3 gifts. They're actually a template for a gratitude journal, the 5 questions that she is just talking about. And what was the first thing that's on there?
And that the relaxation exercise for busy people. That's
there we go. That's why I couldn't remember it, because I do need a relaxation exercise for busy people. So I'm going to go there myself. So that gift, access to that gift at stresstojoy.com/podcast.
When stress is high, you always want to get rid of them. It's not practical to not have any stressors or challenges in life. But what you can do is learn to dance with your stress rather than fighting it. And you can use these stressors or challenges or pressures in life to become opportunities for growth. When you don't handle them, they become source for illness. But when you develop certain mind techniques, tools to manage it, then they can become your opportunities for growth. And you can do that by regularly breaking your stress cycle, continuing to develop your happiness habits, and remain mindful through the process so you can enjoy your life, be more focused on your work, be more present-minded, and be the best you can be, avoid illnesses and suffering, and enjoy health and happiness.
Can't ask for much more, listeners. I would recommend you strongly re-listen to this podcast if you've gotten this far, and then recommend it to your friends, your frenemies, your coworkers, your family to listen to it as well. You can go to my website also at askjoannevictoria.com and download a free copy of the True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life, and you will also be signed up for my email newsletter at the same time. And if you don't like the newsletter, well, you can always unsubscribe, but the handbook is really worth it. The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. And we thank Dr. Lakhani for being here today. It's been a very important show. As I said, listen to this again. Just listen to this again, people, because I'm just going to remind you to do that. And for those of you who can listen while driving, please do so. Maybe after you've stopped or during lunch, but listen to this podcast and recommend it to your friends. I thank Dr. Lakhani for being here and helping us get from stress to joy. Thank you, Dr. Lakhani.
I truly appreciate you. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on my podcast page. And get a free copy of my book, The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.